Good evening and welcome to the Angela Ray Show. I hope that you all have had a great week and we are halfway through to the weekend. For all of you who will be catching tonight's broadcast live, thank you so much for hanging out with the Angela Ray Show. For those of you who are in Facebook land, you know what to do. Go ahead and slide in those comments and let me know what you had for lunch today. I'm just curious. What did you have for lunch today? As I'm thinking about that, I ask you all that question, and I'm not even sure if I remember exactly what I had for lunch today. Well, hello, Miss Cassandra Joliffe. Yeah, I caught how you said that on your show a little bit earlier this evening. Thank you so much, sis, for the support and hanging out. Definitely connect with Cassandra over on Facebook land. She is Cassandra Joliffe live over on Facebook, doing some amazing things with live streaming. For those of you who will be catching the broadcast tonight, you're watching the replay either tonight, tomorrow, or sometime between now and next week. Thank you so much again for your faithful support. Definitely appreciate that. Well, you know what we do over here at the Angela Ray Show. We start every show off with our Ray of Motivation moment. And for tonight's Ray of Motivation moment, I just want to share with you a quote from Herman Melville. And I'm looking down to make sure I get it right. And that is, it is better to fail in originality than to succeed in imitation. It is better to fail in originality than to succeed in imitation. You know, I think that we all have been inspired by people, whether that is someone you went to school with, college, maybe a celebrity, an athlete. People do so many things when they have platforms that inspire others. That is not the imitation that I'm talking about. I'm talking about where you almost have to do a double take when you look at someone's website because it looks so much like someone else's or someone's show, someone's podcast, the way someone has launched their business, you know, even when it comes down to things like restaurants or t-shirts. You know, I remember that a few months ago, because of them, we can, that is heralded by Unique Jones Gibson. You know, she has had this great campaign for probably almost 8 or 9 years now. And there was actually someone on Etsy using that brand, because of them, we can, like, and the excuse was, oh, well, I didn't make these. Someone else made them and I'm just selling them. Nah. You don't want to be successful with imitating someone else. You definitely want to make sure that what you do is original. There are so many ideas out there. And if you just spend just a little time, some quiet time in prayer, in meditation, even looking back over things that you've already done and finding that inspiration to do better. Again, tonight's Ray of Motivation moment. It is better to fail at originality than to succeed in imitation. Well, all right. My guest on tonight is a South Florida resident who migrated from the Caribbean. He is a certified culinarian who has a passion for food and a taste for great service. He earned his Bachelor of Arts degree from the University of Florida in Gainesville in architecture. I wonder, is that how he started to build so many great recipes and put them together? On Fridays, every other Friday, you can catch him on the nationally syndicated Rickey Smiley Morning Show. Everyone, please help me welcome Chef Irie. Chef Irie, thank you so much for being on the Angela Ray Show tonight.
Well, thanks for having me, man. Man, that sounds awesome. When you're listening to it, it's like, well, who's that dude? But appreciate the invite, and also right off the bat, I have to give big up to Cassandra, for extending the invite to through you to me. So I'm glad to be here, and as they say, let's get it on.
Let's get it on. Yeah. So we were talking before we went live. We were talking a little bit about me and not quite getting it right with my jerk seasoning in general. But tell me how you went from earning a degree in architecture to being a master chef?
Man, all right. So, boy, I tell you. So, growing up in the Caribbean, for the most part, and I think, especially when you're dealing with Black culture, we're always pushed into, the chosen fields, engineering, medicine, lawyer, doctor, banker. And so I chose, the technical arts. And so when I migrated here to the States and, eventually made my way to Gainesville or just before, architecture was the chosen major. And so I did that. And it was fun doing it while I was there. The competition was crazy. And, you're in a large facility and a large program, and there were only a few of us. And I literally, when I say a few of us, I mean, I could count us on one hand, really. And when I graduated, there was two of us that graduated, two Black folks that graduated in my graduating year, two Black guys, myself and another friend of mine who's now in Atlanta. But deciding, once I was out working, working for firms, came a point where I wasn't feeling it, as someone would say. I wasn't feeling the burn, feeling the intensity, and wanting to progress further. And I said, there's a problem here, and I need to figure out how I'm going to address it. And so that meant for me, after thinking about it, that I was going to have to go back to school for something, whatever that was. And I was contemplating different things. And then I started going back and looking at some of the things that had happened in the past, especially in college. I was cooking a lot for friends, like during the holidays and stuff like that. And I cooked for myself as well, because I had no choice, but I grew up, doing that. But like Easter holidays when we were on campus, I would cook. People would come over to the apartment, and so I look back at that, looking back at some of the things some of my friends would say, and I remember them saying, you should go, try this cooking thing out. And I was like, I'm getting all these loans and stuff, and you're telling me to go try this cooking thing out. I said, that is not cool. But that's what happened. And I applied to Johnson & Wales, which was at the time the only accredited school for culinary. And they accepted me. Of course, I was like, oh my God, they accepted me. They didn't even ask me for a portfolio. Well, there wasn't none to give, because I didn't know, I knew nothing about professional cooking then. And but once I got into Johnson & Wales, as they say, I wasn't looking back, because there was no need for me to look back. And so people continuously asked me, do you ever want to go back into architecture? I'm like, no, there's so much fulfillment, doing what I do now, because I have like the best of all kind of worlds, the best of both worlds, because I can apply everything that I learned in architecture, that discipline, because it is a discipline, in cooking. And so I now am part of two disciplinary worlds, if you would, architecture and culinary arts. So oftentimes there's no blurring; they're blending. So I love that's how we got started.
That is a great journey, and definitely inspirational for someone else who may be tied to something that they're not quite feeling in their soul, that you can change courses and follow a totally different path, find both success and passion down that road. Cassandra Joliffe, who's one of the viewers here tonight, she said, give me them oxtails. Is that one of the dishes that you, I don't want to assume. So is that one of the dishes that you create, oxtails?
Yeah, so oxtails are a big part of not just Jamaican culture, but Caribbean culture. But it's very large in the Jamaican culture among the various dishes that we cook there. Oxtail is popular. Goat is popular, mostly curried goat. And of course, jerk is big, because that was where it originated. It originated from the Maroons, who lived, the escaped slave that lived in the hills, or escaped to the hills. and that became their home when they were escaping from, the British and the soldiers and the slave masters and all that good stuff. And so they developed a way to utilize, the seasons of the land, the herbs of the land, and smoking, the pork, or the because they used to hunt, the wild beast and stuff like that, usually wild boar. So, but wild meat, whatever that wild meat was, but the intenseness of the flavorings, the pimento, the cinnamon, the thyme, so over the years, from then till now, we've had many, many, many variations of jerk seasoning, but the tried and true foundation of jerk definitely has not changed, which is the smoking over pimento flavored wood, and the slow cooking process of jerk. So now we are able to take jerk into different forms. But yes, so yes, oxtail is definitely a big part of it for those who are still meat eaters. Because I know these days, people, I'm vegan, I'm this, I'm that. But oxtail is huge, and so I do cook oxtails. You gotta have oxtails with butter bean and spinners, which are little thin dumplings that you spin right into the pot.
Spinners. Okay, that's the first time I've heard of that. And you just mentioned pimento. Do you mean like the pimento that is in pimento cheese or no?
No. So
Okay, I'm
I'm yes.
confused.
So I'm yes. I'm thinking. That yes. I'm trying to remember what that pimento is like. So we're talking the allspice berry.
Oh,
So which is
allspice. Okay.
also called pimento in the islands. So the allspice berry and the tree that the allspice berry comes from, the pimento wood, the pimento tree. They use that is the origin one of the original woods that was used in the smoky flavoring of jerk in Jamaica. For that is a big part of our culture.
So Cassandra, she asked, what part of Chicago? I'm sorry, Chicago. I'm thinking about them Chicago hot dogs. What part of Jamaica are you from?
So yeah, when you find a hot dog, let's share with me, please, because I'd like to have one too. Um, so I'm from St. Catherine, and I grew up on a sugar estate. No, I did not own the sugar estate. Neither did my parents. But my dad worked for the sugar, it's a sugar producing company. So they own lots of lands and sugar cane, which is a big product in the Caribbean, used to make rum. And of course, all the byproducts that comes from the sugarcane, molasses, bagasse board, and so he was a bookkeeper, and so St. Catherine, um, which is right next to the um, the capital of the country, Kingston, and so in the island there are 14 parishes, and St. Catherine is one, and that's where I grew up.
So, okay, we got to go back to the jerk because, as I was saying before, I'm trying to get my jerk right, just in case anybody else wants to know.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah, yeah.
allspice. The Scotch bonnet, when you can
Hmm.
find them, I imagine they're probably more plentiful in the Miami area, but every now and then I might go to 5 different stores and I can't find Scotch bonnet. And I remember going to a Caribbean grocery store and they were directing me over to produce. They was like, "Oh, there's your
Hmm.
Scotch bonnet." I was like, "Those are habaneros." I know the difference. Don't sleep because I'm American. I do know the difference, and there is a
Yeah.
difference in the flavor. They both
Yes.
have meat, but the
Hmm.
flavor profile is definitely different.
Yes.
So the garlic,
Hmm.
is soy sauce? Is that one of the bases, or is that like the Americanized version?
So not so much the Americanized version, but it's one of the the recipes that how it has changed over time. People utilize different flavorings. So soy has made its way into jerk, certain jerk seasoning and certain blends of jerk seasoning. But originally that wasn't a part of jerk seasoning. So you definitely the Scotch bonnet, and like you said, yes, habaneros and Scotch bonnet are different, not only in flavor but in the way they look. They are two different things. The habaneros are nice and smooth. Oftentimes you see them in orange, very bright orange colors. Scotch bonnet, they come in all different, colors: green, yellow, orange, all of the stuff. But they're bumpy and rugged on the outside. So that's how you can tell the two. So Scotch bonnet, you can't make jerk seasoning, in my opinion, without it being Scotch bonnet. No habanero, no serrano, no jalapeno. It has to be Scotch bonnet. Of course, pimento, cinnamon, maybe a little nutmeg, definitely thyme, scallion, garlic, onion, some salt, obviously. And there is another, browning, which is, the burnt sugar. That's bottled. We use it a lot in seasoning our meats and flavoring our meats, and also in baking as well. So those are most of the basic components and ingredients for a good jerk seasoning. A little vinegar as well, and maybe some lime. And of course, if you want to be a little daring, you can add a little white rum, Jamaican white rum, the J. Ray and Nephew white rum to that as well.
Oh, secret right
there. Yeah. So those, you want to spice up that home brand. That's what you do right there. That's what you do.
I'm gonna have to note that down. What's up, Rita Pardo? So glad to see you on tonight. And happy anniversary. I know that your anniversary of your company is coming up. If it wasn't this past Friday, I think it's coming up this Friday. So happy anniversary to you for Pardo Naturals. So we've talked about jerk chicken. We've talked a little bit about those oxtails. What is your favorite cuisine to prepare for people?
Man, is that like a trick question? No.
I mean, I didn't want to assume, I didn't want to assume, there's some people who they learn something new. It's like, you know what, I always go back to this, but now that I've learned how to do XYZ, this is my favorite. So, I didn't want to assume.
Okay, so I don't necessarily have a favorite cuisine per se that I do for clients. But what I try to do for my clients, one, is talk and listen. And, because we try to curate personalized menus for all our clients. I don't think there's any cook date that we do is the same for any client. Every one of them is always different. Something is always different on the menu. But what I do try to do is represent the Caribbean as much as I can. But being culinary trained from Johnson & Wales here in North Miami, and having had the opportunity to travel, I do try to incorporate elements of different cuisine, and so whether it's a classic dish or a variation of that dish, or just elements of the dish, or whether it's elements or the flavors of that dish. So yes, you can have an Asian style menu. You can have an Italian menu. You can have obviously the Caribbean menu. You can have a Jamaican menu. So please, so when people, often try to say, Jamaican and Caribbean are the same. No, Jamaica is part of the Caribbean, and we are, we want to be recognized as such, just like all the other islands. They all have their identity, and we are one, one big family. I don't know if we're all happy at the same time, but we all have different things about us that we try to reflect. So I try to reflect a lot of that in the cuisine offerings, for my clients. And like I said, I'm always trying to, make sure, a little bit of the Caribbean and a little bit of Jamaica gets represented, by the use of some of the flavorings and spices that I use. Spices are a huge thing for me, in how I, flavor foods. So most people who have known me for a long time and have gone to several events oftentimes will say, or ask, "Did Chef Irie cook today?" If they see me, and I'll say, "No." Say, "Yeah, I can tell." So because, especially you start to get used to, flavorings from a chef. And every chef, I think, has certain signature aspects of their food that they do on a regular basis. They use the same similar spices, certain types of herbs. So if you're with someone for a while, you start to understand, and from your taste palette, your taste buds. So different cuisines for different clients and different types of menus for different clients. You have cook Russian, because I have a Russian client that comes down every so often. So we do certain types of food, but sometimes a lot of people come to me and want always something different. Like Caribbean people will come to me not wanting Caribbean food, and other people from other nationalities will come to me asking for Caribbean food. So it often gets flipped all the time. But it's good. Keeps me on my toes.
So we got another question from one of our very loyal viewers here at the Angela Ray Show. Edwin wants to know, when it comes to Jamaican food, everybody talks about jerk chicken and oxtails. In your opinion, what Jamaican dish isn't getting the love and attention that it deserves?
Stew peas! Stew peas and rice. Why? It's not a national dish, but stew peas are, definitely our national dish. Our national dish in Jamaica is ackee and saltfish. And ackee is a fruit that's grown there, and we cook it with salted cod, cook it up with onions, scotch bonnet, tomatoes, scallion, thyme, all that good stuff. But stew peas, because stew peas is one of my favorite dishes. And I think when you look at foods from the Caribbean, and then when you come here to the States and you start to understand Black culture here, and understanding that a lot of the foods were a representation of what slaves ate because the slave masters didn't eat it. It's like, okay, we get the best of everything and y'all got the pigtail. And so learning how to salt and cure the pigtail so that they could preserve it is one thing. And so cooking pigtail with the red beans. And so as you're looking at Black history and Black culture, every culture pretty much around the world has a rice dish. Every culture around the world has a composed rice dish, whether it was rice and meat or rice with peas or beans. So red beans is a big thing in Black culture, whether it's here in the States or here in the Caribbean. So stew peas is cooked with red beans, bawisa peas. Forgive us, not because we don't know any better, but that's what we want to call it. And so, pigtail, salted pigtail, red peas, dumplings, again, spinners, and this very coconut milk. The salt is washed out, then boiled out, and you can't have stew peas that doesn't reflect a little bit of the saltiness, right? So that's why we love salt cod. It's kind of weird. You salt it because it's preserved, then you wash out the salt, and then while you're cooking it, you're adding more salt back to it.
Oh, that's funny.
That's good, right? So, but you just want it just right. You want it just right. So for me, I think stew peas is one of the dishes in Jamaica that doesn't get a lot of say so, because jerk is always spoken about, and anybody that speaks about Jamaica or the Caribbean, that's like the go-to word or dish, because that's the one that's spoken about a lot. And when they come to the island, we're always wanting everybody to try the jerk, try jerk chicken, try jerk pork, try jerk lobster, jerk shrimp, and all that good stuff. And so the idea of jerk has spread beyond the grill. So jerk ice cream, jerk, and I have to say this though, a lot of people are always. I think that when you move away from the grill and you're going to call anything jerk, I say it should be jerk style or in the style of jerk, because jerk is actually a way to cook, proteins and vegetables and stuff like that over flame and wood. So when you get past the grill, it should be, I should say, it should be in the style. So jerk flavored ice cream, jerk flavored X, Y, and Z, whatever that is. So, stew peas.
So Rita has a question for you. Are plantains Caribbean? Because I don't like them, but I want to like them. They taste just like an unripe banana. Help!
Yes, plantains are Caribbean. Yes, definitely grown in most of the Caribbean islands, Puerto Rico, Cuba for sure. So you have green plantains and you have ripe plantains. So the maduros, as they call them here in South Florida, the ripe plantains, ripe fried plantains, um, sweet when they're fried, and so they caramelize once they're fried, nice and brown, and those are good. Those are awesome. And there's so many things that you can make with fried ripe plantains. So the green one that most people seem to not like, understanding that you can twice fry them to make tostones. Nice, crispy on the outside, and you gotta salt them as soon as they come out of the fryer. Little kosher salt over them, and you want to eat them nice and warm and hot. You don't want to eat tostones cold; they don't taste as good. All right. If you're from Haiti, you call them banan, and it's cooked the same way. Just tostones from a different country, call a different thing, prepared the same way. Banan, which is served with griot, which is the fried pork, and the pickles. So if you're having green plantains, I say have them with something else. Whether it's fried beef, fried pork, fried chicken, tostones with seafood, tostones with lobster, tostones with a sauce. So something that you can dip those tostones in cream cheese sauce or something like that and enjoy them a lot more. If you're from the Spanish-speaking country, mofongo, which is smashed fried green plantains, seasoned highly with garlic and butter and oil and parsley. And then you can add proteins to that. Chicharrones, which is the fried pork skin, and those gets mashed up in the mofongo. Ooh, yeah, that's good. Ooh, that's good. So it's just, you just gotta find the right medium to enjoy those fried green plantains, my dear.
Okay. She just said she didn't know that there was a difference. Another question from Edwin. Where can I get some good conch fritters?
Well, I don't know. Where are you, Edwin? So
Edwin is
if you're
in Fayetteville, North Carolina.
well, goodness gracious. Oh, so
Do you ship? Do you cook? Do you have clients and do you ship food?
Sometimes, but it's something that I haven't really gotten, into a lot. But what I would do is not the fritters. So the thing to ship would be the batter. The fritters, so the conch fritter batter is what you want, and so that would come frozen, and then you let it defrost and everything. So that's what you really want to get. Any company that is selling a good conch a fritter batter, whether it's conch, codfish, shrimp, whatever else is in that batter. And so in Fayetteville, North Carolina, I do know that there are several Caribbean outlets that are there in different places. They may be not too far from you. I'm not sure. Some of those places might, serve, conch fritters. But the fritters, I would not recommend you buying fritters to have them shipped to you, because the best part of a fritter is eating it when it just comes out, when it's nice and hot, it's soft, the texture is nice. So fritters that have been cooked, cooled, and then refrigerated, and then you needed to reheat them are not as good.
Okay.
They're not as good.
That is good to know. Rita has a question. Can you make desserts out of plantains?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. So, and it's funny enough that, Rita should ask about that, because in this book right here, Taste the Islands, yes, Caribbean, what's it? Culinary Adventures in the Caribbean Kitchen that you can buy on Amazon. There's a dessert in here with ripe plantains. Yes, so you can make plantain bread, plantain cheesecake. You can make plantain bread pudding. You can make plantain tarts. There's a lot of things that you can make as desserts with plantain. Yes, and I recommend using either the ripe plantains or the semi-ripe plantains because of the sweetness that the plantain affords to the taste and flavor of said dessert. So yes, you can make desserts with plantain.
And to answer your other question, Rita, he is located in South Florida. So if you make your way down to Miami, you might be able to catch him live for an event. So you are coming up. This coming Friday is your Friday to be on the Rickey Smiley Morning Show.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I goofed up last week and I told everybody it was last week, but no, this Friday. This Friday. So, when I was on every Monday, it was easy. When like, yeah, every Monday. So when the schedule changed, and so it's myself and another chef, Chef Jan, who is in Alabama, and so we alternate Fridays. So this Friday is my Friday, and you can tune into the Rickey Smiley Show as normal. Quarantine Cooking with Chef Irie will air, and it's sometime between 9:35 and 9:45, somewhere around there. And it's awesome. I've been doing it since January, and the crew, Rickey Smiley Morning Show crew, is awesome. I haven't met everybody from the show, but Ricky's also a client of mine. So when he's here in South Florida, I sometimes do some things for him. But it'd be great when the rest of the crew comes down and we get to meet everybody and be happy, happy, happy. So yes, and there's some other things that's coming up too. This Friday, the African American Research Library that's located here in Fort Lauderdale in South Florida, they're hosting.
Because we lost you just a second, so repeat that. You said this Friday, and then you cut out a minute. So go ahead and repeat that.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So this Friday, the African American Research Library, which is located here in Fort Lauderdale, in South Florida, they're hosting the South Florida Book Fest. And I'm also a part of that. I will be doing a televised cooking demonstration with food and cocktail. Starts at 6, and on my IG. I posted the flyer. I'll repost it again tomorrow for that event as well as the flyer for the Rickey Smiley Morning Show.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anthony has a question for you. What is the biggest no-no in your kitchen?
If you can't have fun in my kitchen, you can't work in my kitchen. Besides yes, we want to maintain clean kitchen, the usual suspects. But attitude, I tolerate bad attitude in my kitchen. We must, because the kitchen, especially if you're working in a restaurant style kitchen, and I've worked in restaurants, I've worked in hotels, before moving on to doing my own business. And the people that you work with become your family. Oftentimes you feel like your second family. So much so that sometimes they even take more precedence in your life than your actual family, because you see them so often, and you have to be able to know that you can trust, the person you're working to the left of you or to the right of you. But bad attitudes definitely not tolerated in my kitchen. You gotta have fun in my kitchen if you're coming to work for me. And when you are around, clients, good customer service. So people, especially my staff, because I can't be, doing everything. So the people who are up front they are a representation of me. They're professionals. They work in the industry and all that good stuff. But we try to make sure we're doing everything, from a hygiene, perspective. They always say, what if you do it, what do you do or don't do behind closed doors? It's the same thing that you will do or don't do in front of everybody. So when everybody's, hey, gloves, this, when we're in the kitchen, we're wearing gloves. We're making, yes, we're doing everything that we would do in front of you, because you develop that habit and that mindset. But I like to have fun in my kitchen. I'm not as strict as some people. But you know what's interesting? That people automatically sort of give you that respect, because you treat them a certain way,
Mm-hmm.
and I think if you do that automatically, it comes back to you real quick. So yes, chef, no chef, blah blah blah. Those are really cool things to hear, and I don't have to beat anybody over the head. But just don't tick me off though. Just don't tick me off.
You sound like David Banner. Don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry. I don't know if you get
I
that.
know. Oh, I know.
So, Edwin has another question for you. In your opinion, what item should we add to our kitchen and what item should we remove? And I guess that's a question for us lay people who are not professional chefs. So, what item should we
Mm.
add to our kitchen and what item should we get rid of?
There are two things I think everybody should have in their kitchen. They should have a hand immersion blender. They call it a stick blender, and a grinder. You should have a hand immersion blender and a grinder. And here's why. So oftentimes, you're making, smoothies, soups, and you want to transfer stuff to the blender to make that whatever it is smoother when you can do it right there in the pot. And so access and ease, to an immersion hand blender, will suffice because it's going to remove the possibility of you hurting yourself by the top of the blender, lifting off, when you're blending hot liquids. The spice grinder, so you can create your own spice blends at your home. So one of the things that I try to teach people, to get in the habit of doing is not buying a lot of compound spices like the all-purpose things and what have you, or just even the spices that are made from the nuts, the cumin, the coriander, the allspice, the black pepper, and a lot of those things. So what you can do is buy them in smaller, in whether it's the small sizes in bulk, buy them glass jars and store them outside of the presence of a lot of light. All right, but instead of buying the complete seasoning and you're opening it. So once you're opening any spice rack, it starts to lose its potency. Um, and so a lot of these spices, they're not as strong as powerful. After about 4 to 6 months, they lose a lot of their potency. So what I'm trying to get you to do is to buy spices in their seed form and then add the seeds to a hot pan, release the oils, put them in a spice grinder, and make as much as you want. So instead of having a big open container of complete spices mix, whatever you only have to make enough for like 1 or 2 times in the kitchen. Once that's done, you go back and you make some more, and you get to experiment with different types of spice blends that suit your kitchen. All right. So I know the other thing that I like, when I'm talking about, is especially for Black folks, we use way too much salt in our foods, and we are struck with hypertension, high blood pressure, and all this good stuff. So when you make your own spices, you can control whether or not you put salt in it or just the right amount of salt for that particular spice blend that you're using. And you don't have to now use 2 or 3 different spice blends and all of them have salt in them. So that's the thing that I try to teach. What would I remove? Oh man, the microwave.
How about that?
As much as I use it, because just from it, it's there. But I think the microwave, and because every time, and I started thinking about it the other day, especially when I want my coffee hotter. and I stick it in the microwave, 30 seconds, and a minute later, I'm like, it's not hot enough. But if I had put it in a pot and reheated it and put it in a cup, it stays hotter longer. Don't ask me why, but it does. Just the technology. I actually remove the microwave.
That is interesting, and thank you for sharing that about the spices. I just the no, I didn't bring the seeds. I do buy the black peppercorn, so I do grind my
Okay.
pepper pretty much like throughout cooking every day, all day, and I have
Hmm.
some ground pepper on the side just in case I don't feel like doing that, and then I grind my own pink salt. But I had not thought about grinding the other spices, and then I and it is so important to be able to control the salt. Like I like making tacos.
Hmm.
It was just Taco Tuesday. So I made my own taco seasoning because so often that taco seasoning pre-made in the packet has so much sodium. But when I made I
Hmm.
had no sodium. I had a little bit of salt in my ground turkey, but no salt at all in the seasoning. And it was fine. I didn't really need it. I didn't miss it because I had a little bit of like garlic salt in the actual ground turkey. So
Right.
that is
Right.
really important. So thank you for sharing that. So the other thing that you said though was toasting. You said toasting those seeds a little bit
Yes.
to
Yes.
release the
So when you
oil.
buy, yeah, so when you buy, the spices in their seed form, coriander, cumin, black pepper, anything that's in a seed form, mustard seed, anything like that. So when you toast those spices, it it releases the oil in the oils and the additional flavonoids that are in those spices. So you're really taking the spice in their seed form from sort of like a bland point and
Mm-hmm.
elevating the flavors of that spices. So once you toast them, you get to one point. But when you actually grind toasted spices, now the flavor component has gone up like several notches. So, like, for instance, toasted coriander seeds. If you just grind coriander seeds by themselves, they smell and taste one way. But when you toast them, and then grind them, you're looking at a totally different spice flavor mix. It's so intense, nutty, sweet. So when you put that on meats and stuff, you've totally changed the flavor profile of what you would have had if you hadn't toasted them. So toasting spices is just a way of releasing the oils in the spices and getting additional intense flavorings from those spices. And you wanted no oil in the pan. Get you a
Mm-hmm.
non-stick pan and kind of a low to medium heat, and you want to watch it because just like anything else, if it's too high, the heat is too high, it will burn. So we don't want burnt spices. We just want to toast them up for a little bit, just release the oils, and then you go.
Rita, I'm gonna answer that question for you, Rita. Your question is, does he ever make his own jerk season? I can tell you, he probably does. Talking about toasting, seeds in the kitchen to grind. I bet you do make your own. Do you ever buy? I mean, are you ever like in a
Yeah.
rush with a client that you buy it? But I'm
Oh
assuming most
yeah,
times
yeah,
you
yeah.
probably make your own.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, you have the opportunity to cater for different size events. So most jerk seasonings come in small jars. So if I'm doing an event for 100 people, 200 people, 300 people, I need that. And if jerk seasoning is on the menu, I need a lot of jerk seasoning. You know, so instead of me trying to sit and make the jerk seasoning, um, I'll just go out and buy enough of what I need. The good thing about jerk seasoning, it lasts for a long time. So if you make a lot, and you don't always have to refrigerate, you really don't. You can, but because of the elements that are in the pepper, the vinegar, and the salt, those three act as preservatives inside the jerk seasoning. So once you've made everything, it can last for a while even without refrigeration. But if you feel, when you feel, as they were saying to make you feeling bummy, you can make it and put it in the refrigerator, and that definitely will last you even longer. And you just take out and use as you want. And quick tip: when you're doing seasoning anything, and you have, say a bottle with seasoning, um, what I do in my kitchen, I try to do, is take some of that seasoning and put it in a smaller container, and then put that bottle away. Why? Because you're trying to reduce the whole idea of cross contamination. Because in your head, you're thinking you're being safe, and sometimes you're not even thinking about it. So you'll put the season the chicken or whatever it is you're seasoning, whether you have gloves on or not, doesn't matter. And you're thinking, I should get a little more seasoning. So guess what you do? You reach for it, whatever it is, and you add some more to it, and you put it back down. So at the end of everything, unless you're very conscious, okay, maybe I need to go back and wipe down these. So to prevent all of that, just take some out, put it in a smaller container, season it up, and if you think, then you can throw that stuff away. Especially if you've been working with poultry or and stuff like that, you can always throw that out because you have more.
Right. That is a great tip. And I am one of those people. I'm always like, I probably wash my hands, especially when I'm dealing with chicken 10, 15 times, just because I'm always like, oh, I just touched that. Let me wash my hands before I even touch the stove. So yeah,
Right.
I've seen too many stories about those salmonella poison, and I'm like, like the Ken Baby told, not in my house. We're not having that. No. Not trying to do that. Not trying to do that.
Indeed.
So this Friday, you can catch Chef Irie on the Rickey Smiley Morning Show in the 9:30 hour approximately. If you're in the Fort Lauderdale area, he will be live for a book event. Is that correct?
Yeah, the South Florida Book Festival at the African American Research Library. So it would be it's pre-recorded and everything, but yeah, I'm on the bill.
Okay.
Yes, but people can actually tune in. There are links provided, just like tonight you provide, so people can watch and the viewers can watch it, for the whole event, for the whole weekend.
Okay, awesome. And real quick question, Rita wants to know what you sipping. She said it looks real refreshing.
It is, Rita. So I'm having a little white wine. Yes, thank you very much. And it's a Sadige. This is a wine, one of the brands from Wines for Humanity, which I am part of. And this is one of the wines that they sent me. So I am called one of the Shiraz boys here in South Florida. But this is obviously not Shiraz. It's a white wine. It's chilled and it's nice. It's sweet, pish. It's floral notes, nice citrus. See, I've been,
I was like, yeah. So you're a sommelier too.
You have to do everything. Yes, food. So cooking is not just about cooking. It's when you become a chef. And of course, this month, July, for those of you who don't know, July is Culinary Arts Month. Because there's a month for everything here in this country. There's like about 1,500 different designations for
You're
things.
Right. Yes.
And this month is Culinary Arts Month. So big up, people in the culinary arts and restaurants. Give them some respect if you've never done so before. But as a chef and working in the industry, cooking is only a part of what you do. And when you're starting doing events and stuff like that, understanding, getting more knowledge about wines and about just ingredients, ingredients that you use, ingredients that you may not even use that are not familiar with. You need to become familiar with so many different things. Be familiar with different types of cuisines. And of course, wine is definitely one of them. Learning not just to drink wine, but understanding how you're tasting wine, why you're doing what you're doing when you're tasting it, and understanding what works well, not just from the perspective of taste as you're drinking it, but how it feels and tastes and pairs with something that you are eating. And remember, you don't always have to go by what the tradition says. If white tastes some great for you with some other deep dark protein like beef, and as opposed to a red, and that works for you, that is what works for you. So it doesn't always have to be white with seafood, white with chicken, or what works for you is what's best. And the last tip I will give on wine: if you're cooking and you would like to add some wine to that dish, do not go out and buy cooking wine. Yes. No, no, no. Use the wine that you drink. All right. You don't have to have an expensive bottle, but if you're going to go out and buy you a $10 bottle of wine and you know it's good, use that wine in your bolognese, in your clam sauce. Use something that's going to taste good to you already before you add it to the food. So that's my wine tip.
You can also use it to deglaze too. If you're going to add, make a nice little sauce, it's really handy.
Right. So anything that you're going to put it in a pot. If you can't sit there and have a glass after you've poured some into that, don't do it. Use something that you would drink while you're cooking.
Okay, Rita's talking about she's going to drink wine with her cornflakes. Okay, I can't believe it.
Hey, why not? Who are we to tell Rita that she cannot do that? I just want to know what kind of cornflakes it is. Yeah, and that's all I want to know. Yeah. Right.
Absolutely. And thanks so much for the shout out, Edwin. Definitely have enjoyed. This has been educational for me. I love cooking. I love, pairing food up with, I don't do it a whole lot necessarily with wine, but just making different beverages, whether that's, a strawberry limeade, some old school, old fashioned Southern sweet tea, or a little bit of sparkling water with just a hint of lime, like playing around with some of those things as well. So this has definitely been a great episode. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your very busy schedule, because I know that you are a personal chef as well. You have clients all over South Florida. You're on the Rickey Smiley Morning Show, and then you're also doing some philanthropic things in the community as well. So I appreciate you taking the time out to talk with us tonight.
No, I appreciate you, and thanks for having me. And when you reached out, I was like, yeah, no problem, for sure. Made it happen. It's good that it happens at this time of the evening as well. And for today, but for everybody out there in Angela Ray's land, thank you for tuning in. And definitely, if you have any questions about food or anything, just hit me up on my website, chefirie.com. or on IG, I am Chef Irie. Definitely answer anything that you want to know. If you're in South Florida and you're going to host an event or something, or you're in an Airbnb, give me a call.
I like that plug about the Airbnb. Hadn't thought about that. To service people. Yeah.
Most definitely, because that's the way people are going right now. A lot of people, especially when you're traveling in groups and you want to stay together, a lot of people are utilizing, Airbnbs, and quite a few people in different places. They usually try to have a chef, whether it's for the duration of your stay or maybe your last night. You want to have a really nice dinner. That's what we're there to do.
That is awesome. Chef Irie's Instagram and website are scrolling at the bottom of the screen, so you can take those down. Again, be sure to check him out on the Rickey Smiley Morning Show on this coming Friday, and then every other Friday following that. Thank you so much for hanging out tonight, and I look forward to connecting with you. I'm gonna go ahead and put it. I'm gonna be in the kitchen with you at some point. I almost was in South Florida. Like literally, I was like a decision away from being in South Florida this week. So yeah, I'm gonna make it happen. And I'm gonna text you and be like, look, don't play. Like, I'm gonna have my gloves. And I'm be ready to get in there and make some jerk chicken.
Most definitely. So when you come, we can do that. And and I also travel. I also travel for clients as well, outside of the state of Florida, within the state of Florida. So, but yeah, when you come, Miss Ray, you better let me know.
I
Because
will.
if I hear you tiptoe in and tiptoe out, oh, we gonna have words, girl. We gonna have words.
Definitely. I will definitely let you know in advance so that,
Most
in
definitely.
your busy schedule, you can slide me in for a couple of hours so we can cook in the kitchen together.
Awesome, awesome,
All right.
awesome.
Well, enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you, and remember, have a great food and fire experience from Chef Irie. Thank you.
Oh,
Awesome.
I like that. A great food and fire experience. Well, that is it for this edition of the Angela Ray Show. As always, I would like to remind you all of Ray of Motivation number 54. Cleaning a mirror does not change the person who is reflected in it. Until next time, I encourage you all to go out and be the change. Have a great week, and I look forward to seeing you all next Wednesday.